Welcome back, my friends, to an episode of TFT Hyperroll, and actually this is the first one I am recording in 2022. I know I've released a few videos, but those were actually recorded in 2021 and then put out then, so I can officially say Happy New Year from Mission for Tuition. It's called Mission for Tuition because we're trying to raise money for our son's middle and high school tuition. We don't do it through donations or anything like that, just views, like, comment, subscribe, do all the stuff to help the YouTube algorithm to raise more money for tuition. And with that said, let's get started. So normally I say do not force builds, and I still think that's a really good rule to follow. But sometimes you get specific requests from people who watch videos and want to see certain builds. Leland wanted to see Bodyguard assassins. I got the chance to pick up Stand Behind Me, and even though I had absolutely no assassins on my team, I decided this was going to be the game where I was going to try and do that. But of course, in order to do that, you're going to ultimately have to get more bodyguards and assassins. So at this point, I'm just picking up anything I can so that I can put something behind those bodyguards so they'll have increased armor. And after a lot of rolling, I'm just able to find one measly little rat who I decide to leave on the bench because I feel that Vi will be a little bit stronger of a champion at this point in the match. Unfortunately, their assassins with their 2-star little rat is able to easily get through mine. With the item shop and the plan to go assassins, the sparring glove is the clear choice because I'm going to want to make infinity edges and or last whisperers, and I guess it's time to go ahead and put the little rat in and hope that he can keep this game held together. It's also time to get an item onto my little assassin back there. Now with Twitch, it's good because you can usually get enough of them that you can switch them in and out. This is not a high cost unit, so you should be able to find a silver plus some additional ones. And I think we all know how this is going to turn out as I run into a team that has 3 2-star units all set up and ready to go. Even though I have decent armor, it's not going to be enough to hold this off, and as their ascension kicks in, they're able to exterminate my little rat. So I'm able to grab an Echo and careful to put him behind the bodyguard so he's getting the armor boost. I also picked up a Talon and then decide to switch the Infinity Edge over to Talon because that will be a stronger unit than Twitch. The problem is right now I don't really have strong 2-star units, and while they'll hold up a long time to physical attacks due to the armor, there just isn't enough damage to take things down and really hold on. Ultimately, I'm forcing this, and Leland, if this doesn't turn out well, it's kind of all your fault. And of course I'm kidding, I got myself into this mess and I'll get myself out. I grabbed the bow because this can create the last whisperer, which is going to pair really well with the Infinity Edge, and while it might not be perfect for Talon, I'm using him right now for this purpose. You can see the effect of combining these two items fairly quickly, as how fast Talon is able to cut through things. Reducing their armor and guaranteeing crits on every attack are going to take people down fast, and the extra armor is not hurting anymore either. Now there's a little bit of a backstory to this augment, but let me go through them really quick. The thrill of the hunt would have been a little bit of healing, which is not bad. Pandora's items, well, that gives you the chance to really create your own items, but I didn't have too many. As you can see, I already had 2 Terex, and since I was running the Bodyguard buff on everyone, I decided to grab the extra enchanter so I would also be giving magic resist, and that would automatically put me up to 2 Terex. You can see the impact of this also very quickly, as my team goes in and is able to do a lot of damage while continuing to be healed. Unfortunately, that Malzahar is just able to keep pouring out healing to keep Cho alive long enough so that it takes down my damage. Left with only Tarek, there isn't much chance for this fight to go in my direction. Since I have a chain vest on the side, the chance to pick up a tier is a pretty easy one because I want to make the Frozen Heart. My original plan was to put it onto Echo, but once I have a gold Poppy, I decide to go ahead and use that because Poppy will be up for a much longer time. We're finally starting to see the build come together. I have good armor from the bodyguards being in front and supplying it, and the enchanters are giving magic resist, and with good items on my assassins, they're doing tons of damage, allowing me to win these matches.
Next time, try to leave a dent.
And we're speeding through these fights for the usual reason. It's a lot of rinse and repeat. We have heavily armored assassins going into the backline and doing a bunch of damage, and with that little extra magic resist, it's helping us stay alive even longer. Now this is something I've talked with people in comments about, when to dump a champion. In this case, I pick up a Shaco, which is going to be a stronger unit than Talon, especially with those items, so it's time to say goodbye to Talon and hello to Shaco, and hope that I can pick up more assassins later if I need. When I get the chance for my third augment, the healing is the obvious way to go. I need that on this team in order to help them stay alive. Now I was a little bit torn about how to distribute my remaining items. I decided ultimately to put the Rage Blade on Shaco because that will have him attack more often. I could have gone with Death Blade, but I'm not as much of a fan on it with a champion I have no chance of getting to 3 stars. But this fight sort of changes my mind, or at least makes me second guess what I did, because I can see Shaco just isn't doing enough damage, and once he's CC'd in the back, he tends to go down very, very quickly, and we lose this fight to that Heimer who's just able to rip the team, because while we're good against physical damage, not so much against magic damage. I decide to go ahead and put the Death Blade onto Poppy simply because Poppy is the 3-star champion. Poppy is also staying up a long time, so my hope is that Poppy can soften up some of the frontline targets while Shaco comes along from the back and just finishes them off. In this case, you get to see how having that extra armor is on display. Their Tristana is just beating and beating and beating on my team, but ultimately isn't able to do enough damage to take them down. The NPC had an Academy emblem, and I decided to go ahead and pick up the Socialite emblem just to give that little extra boost to Shaco so that he can cast a little bit more often. We go ahead and stick the Academy emblem onto Echo so he can get a little more ability power, and especially after he casts, just increase for the team. Since we are now down to our last life, our goal here obviously is number 1 to stay alive, but ultimately to have Shaco just walk around the board and take people out as quickly as possible. You can see it works out really well until little Flinger comes along and flings him away, but the team is strong enough to withstand it all and hold in. At this point, we're just going to keep switching in and out assassins as we get the more powerful ones. So we have the 5 cost over the total of 3 on the Twitch, 1, 2, 3, since it's a 1 cost unit. And this is ultimately where we see it all come together, because this team we are against is pretty stacked. They have a really strong Garen who's only going to get stronger. They have a Lux that is both an Imperial and has a Rabadon's Death Cap, but we're able to hold up against that. But this Garen might not go down but for the amount of armor shredding we're able to get in when Shaco attacks and finishes him off. And with that victory, we are into the top 4, and even more importantly, finally able to put out our 4th assassin. So we've got exactly what we were looking for. The 4 assassins, 4 bodyguards, and we're enhancing it a little bit with the 2 enchanters, and then we also managed to work in Syndicate since we have Shaco, Akali, and Darius, which can make Shaco even more deadly than normal. At this point, I was debating between getting the Rabadon's Death Cap for Akali just to make her stronger, but remember I said earlier how effective Frozen Heart is on Echo, and then we finish Echo off with the Spear of Sojin just so he's casting more often. This is a fight where you're really going to see the impact of the additional armor and the additional magic resist. This is a 7 innovator team with a gold Ezreal and of course a dragon. Yet we are able to get through them at this point because of the amount of armor and magic resist, and of course the Omni Vamp from Shaco that we have going on. We now have to face off against the Academy team with the ridiculously strong Garen. Now, positioning is not really something I can mess too much with in this match. We are pretty much set by the fact that we have stand behind me. So the bodyguards are going to be in front and the assassins are going to be right behind them. I can move them back a little if I wanted to, but that isn't really going to help. Ultimately, again, you see why Last Whisperer and Infinity Edge work so well together. So this game now ultimately comes down to us against the 7 Innovator Dragon team, and usually dragons do not lose, but they have been nerfed slightly, so there's a chance. But just watch Shaco march through
the backline, and every time he ults, he's dropping aggro and gaining health back thanks to the Celestial Blessing and everything we need. It's a close fight, but ultimately, Shaco ends up pulling it out, and while this person seems to think it was the pathing, I think ultimately it was the amount of armor, the magic resist, and the build. Hope you enjoyed the video, and have an absolutely awesome day.